Hello, I'm Bruce Zimmerman, and this is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week. Now, recently I attended the PC Insiders Report for the media, and this is always, to my way of thinking, one of the great events in garden writing, simply because it's the latest, the greatest, and trends, and this is where you're going to find them. I've been to Stokes Trials and tasted the tomatoes and the peppers, etc. And it's usually from this group of tasting by other garden writers that PC actually chooses the tomatoes for the following year, or peppers, etc. So it's very important. And these are the ones that we like, not just one or two, but maybe a dozen, 2 dozen people all come together and say, yes, this is the best one. And you know how hard it is to get that many garden writers to get a consensus from. They all have their own way of thinking, etc. Right? You've heard that one before. So here's some of the things that I saw and thought this was great. Now, they have hardy figs, and they've had them for a couple of years, and so have I. And this past winter, they suffered very badly. We had bad winter, right? Well, I wintered my hardy figs in the pots, sunk into my vegetable garden with no protection. They are all starting to sprout. Now, they're starting to sprout from farther down, closer to the ground. Yes, admittedly, where there's a bit more snow cover. But most of that is because the rabbits decided to eat the top half. Of course, they were so desperate for food, they would eat almost anything. So even into the woody growth, they were there looking for something of nourishment. And so when you get a plant that survives the cold like that, produces new growth already in this season, and we've had a fairly strange, dry, warm, cold season, that it says something about the plant. So we'll see. And so what I did was I got another one. And sooner or later, I'm going to have my own little fig forest here, but I have to admit, there'll never be enough figs for my family. The other one that went over very, very well was the new PC Mint Strawberry Herb. Now, this is a mint. It has a strawberry hint to the leaves, but some people say it tastes a little bit more like strawberry chocolate. Now, I guess that's your taste buds. To me, strawberry. Mint, strawberry, I can go with that. And so can the kids, okay? Because trust me, they tried it and they went, ooh, okay? The other thing that they really, really did was the bowls. Now, we always try and get a bowl of cut and come again leaf different vegetables. Now, whether it's the Asian ones or some of the other different colored lettuces and greens. But what I got this time was all arugulas. Now, knowing that my daughters like sorrel, and of course it's very bitter. In fact, when they were little kids, they practically ate a plant to death. So I got that, and they went and they tried it, and they liked arugula. And I said, it's great when you want to throw it into a salad, just a little bit, sort of to spice up the salad. I said, oh yeah. And then I was talking to the people of PC, and of course, they suggested that the arugula can actually be used as well as the flavoring gravies for roast beef. The one they recommended was in this pot was wasabi arugula. Now, what you'll find is it tastes like wasabi, but the taste does not linger. It hits you and then disappears. And it's sort of a refreshing hit, which makes really good roast beef gravy. So you may want to try that one. The other one that I have to admit was absolutely the best, and the tomato that all the garden writers came together and said we have to grow this one, is, of course, Blush Tiger. Now, Blush Tiger is a football-shaped tomato. It's a cherry, but it's a very large cherry. It is a yellow with an orange blush, and you should try and pick it when it's got its blush because that's when it gets its best flavor. Can I say enough about this one? No. It comes in clusters. It's indeterminate. It just keeps flowering, so make sure that you've got big tomato cages for this one. And it is something that I would strongly recommend. They also had Goya berries. Now, the Goya is rather an interesting plant. The goji is good for you, of course. It's sort of pear-shaped, small, red-looking tomatoes, but they're not. And they are really quite sweet. They're very good for you. The plant is easy to grow, very hardy. Gets at least 6 to 8 feet if you don't trim it. So you do want to trim it and keep it down to about, I would say, about 3 to 4 feet. So each spring you'll trim it back down. And so it's easier to reach and pick in. Remember, the older wood can have some spines on it so it can prick you. So be aware of that. It can also spread under the ground and come up as rhizomes, which some people say, well, it's going to be invasive. It might, take over. I said, but it also means that you can propagate it and share it with friends. And they're going, oh yeah, I can't see anybody turning down these healthy fruit. Some of the trends that we saw at PC, and there are a few more. A lot of the vegetables that are ethnic type of vegetables are becoming more and more important and more part of the PC lineup. I saw some of the different international vegetables, and they'll all be there too. So okras were there, some of the tomatillos were there, and some others as well. So it was a lot of fun to take a look. We had perennials to look at as well. And when I talked to some of the growers, they would talk and they would say, oh yeah, this is such and such and such and such. But this is the one that does better than all the others. And this is really what PC looks for. And there was fire alarm. Now, it's not a repeat bloomer, but it blooms over a long period of time. The color contrasts on it are spectacular, which is why it's called fire alarm. And it is going to be a brilliant daylily in your garden. It's something that I would strongly recommend that you take a look at. You want it in at least half a day full sun, and you want to keep it moist. It will give you that dark eye. You'll give you the ruffled petals, all in a very nice sort of coral orangey color with, of course, the red eye. Spectacular as well. Some heucheras were there. Grape expectations impressed a lot of us simply because it is a good grape-colored leaf. I mean, there's a lot of purple leafed and dark purple leafed heucheras out there, but this one is really quite spectacular. And I like it. I like the shape of it. I like the way it sort of shapes. And it's something that I think will add to any garden. The Hosta Island Breeze went over extremely well. This was the first of the perennials to actually disappear from the tables because the garden writers wanted it so badly. Island Breeze Hosta has a green margin, beautiful yellow centers, and you're going to just love the way this thing shapes up. And that's what I like about it. Okay. Now, Cool as a Cucumber looks good. It looks like another green and white, got a white band, etc. But it forms a neat little mound. And as the plant gets older, the petioles will stretch a little bit, and the leaves will actually elongate, so that in the coming years you can expect leaves that are longer than you've got each year until they are very, very long. That in itself is going to give you a different look and a different texture, which is going to stand it out from a lot of your other green and white lanceolate leafed hostas. So that is called Cool as Cucumbers. So you want those ones as well. So look for Island Breeze and, of course, Cool as Cucumbers. Now, last year I got from them Designer Jeans. And it was a hosta. And trust me, red stems, light yellowy green leaves. And is it strong? Yes. It's up. It's popped. It's doing really well in my garden already when either some of the other hostas are just starting to do okay. It's already up and doing a job. So there was a bunch of them that I want you to take a look at, but there was a shrub that I couldn't resist. And you know that I love hydrangeas. And I do, okay? I've got a lot of them, etc. But there was an Endless Summer one. It's in that series called Bloomstruck. Now, Bloomstruck is guaranteed to thrill. And the reason is that it has blooms that last all season long. It has massive blooms that are 3.5 to good 3.5 inches across. And the plant itself is about 3 to 4 feet high and about 3 to 4 feet wide. And only $30. It's a good bargain. It's in very large pots in the garden center. And some of the ones that were there actually had flower buds on them already, which is a good indicator. Now, they might have been forced a little, and they might be a little earlier than they should be, going and judging by other Endless Summer series hydrangeas in gardens that I've seen here in Niagara. But it's sitting outside, gets no protection from wind, sun, or cold, or heat, and it's getting watered, and it's not even drooping. And I want you to hear that again. It's not even drooping. Okay? Because that's what usually happens to hydrangeas when they get a little on the dry side or on the wet side. They droop. So another great plant to add to your garden. I'm Bruce Zimmerman. This is the Open Line Garden Show podcast for this week.